So, Guardian. Uh, oh no. Welcome back to Storytime in the meantime.
Welcome back to Storytime in the meantime. How you been, bro? I haven't seen you in a minute.
I've been good.
Did we see each other between the last podcasts and now recording?
Yeah, dude. I saw you on like 2 days ago at trivia.
Oh, I did see you 2 days ago
What are you
at
talking
trivia.
about?
That's right. I
I
forgot
saw
about
you
that.
super recently.
Yeah, dude, I was very tired that day. I was very exhausted.
I could tell you weren't contributing much.
No, I was a scribe, but that was about it.
That was about it.
Yeah, I was. I had a long day. But yeah, I did see you then.
Yeah, I saw you recently.
Well, what's new in terms of just work or?
I haven't had any work the past. Well, I guess since the last episode.
Okay.
Like I haven't done
Have you been working on something like?
just writing.
Writing?
Yeah, just
That's
doing
good.
some like fantasy writing, some reading, and
Nice.
and then practicing
That's
voices and reading scripts. I've been making my
good. Oh yeah,
way through.
you mentioned you were trying to do the voiceover thing, right?
Yeah, voiceover competition that I've
Mhm.
got coming up. I need to submit for by like next week.
Okay.
So that'll be soon. But
Nice.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is exciting.
yeah. How was your shows?
They were good. They were good. I have one tomorrow in Kirkland. I've never been there, so that'll be fun. Kirkland Performance Center. I think it's
Okay.
a theater. This comic Emma Woolman. She's a New York comic. She's coming, so should be fun.
Nice.
Yeah, excited for that. But have you been watching any movies?
No.
Or any TV shows, and it doesn't have to be movies.
Yeah. No, I did watch a movie recently. I watched All Quiet on the Western Front, which was
What's that?
it's been on my list forever, but it was one that was nominated for Best Picture
Last year?
Yeah, in the most recent awards with like The Fablemans, everything.
So it came out last year.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a World War One.
What's it called?
All Quiet on the Western Front. It's based off a novel of the same name that is a World War One kind of account.
Oh, this is the novel.
Yeah.
I see.
But it's a World War One war story that actually is from the German perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place just before the kind of like as they're getting ready to sign the kind of armistice to end the war,
Mm-hmm.
as Germany's having its kind of last legs kicked out from underneath it. And it just shows a gruesome, brutal, realistic perspective of war in general, but of World
Mhm.
War One.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you follow
Damn.
along with kids, really. Like the
Yeah,
majority
yeah.
of them are kids, like 17, 18 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you follow along from them. And it's all in German.
Oh, okay.
And then, so it's, you got the little 1-inch barrier to get through, but
Yeah. Subtitles.
yeah, subtitles. But like it was amazing. I thought it was really, really well done. The cinematography of it was what really stood out, and then just the kind of like overall brutality
Mm.
of the imagery and everything itself was powerful.
It's interesting that you mentioned that about the movie because earlier today I was watching a YouTube video about cinematography from what's his name, the guy who directed Skyfall. Oh, not directed, who the cinematographer for Skyfall.
Oh, I don't know.
Something with a J. I want to make sure I get his name right.
I also just saw something about Skyfall. I was looking at movie kind of like hidden pieces in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're looking up his name, Skyfall was one of the given examples of them having paintings in the background of the scene where Q and Bond are sitting in the, I don't know, it's like the French
Mm-hmm.
museum or whatever.
Yeah.
When they're looking at a painting, it's a painting of a ship that is kind of
Mm-hmm.
being like dragged off to be kind of like decommissioned and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a metaphor of like James Bond and how his superiors think he's old and washed up and like needing to
Oh,
retire. And then the end of the movie
yeah.
shows a painting in the new, like in M's new office,
Uh-huh.
that is of something else, but then in the background is like that same ship that
Mm.
is back and in commission and
Mm.
like like good to go again, basically. And it was like, here's some hidden pieces in the movie of like everything.
Oh, yeah,
And it,
those Easter eggs and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
like
Those
it's
are
just
always
like they're
cool.
so cool. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
it makes me think of like, as a as a cinematographer, as a set designer, when you as a director, when you go and set these things up with
Mm-hmm.
movies, and even with the acting, like actors have their own secret techniques of
Yeah.
or secret little Easter eggs at the things they try to do, like the very subtle facial
Mm-hmm.
expressions and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But I was just thinking about after reading this, I was like, man, everything in a movie, especially those that are done well, is always done with intention. Anything you see on a movie set
Mm-hmm.
is
There's a
meant
deci-
to be there.
there's a there's a decision that went into putting it there.
Right.
That decision was made by someone in the production, whether it be the director, the cinematographer, the set designer, or even the actor. But yeah, that's true. It's interesting and very unique when you find those out, because then those are unique to you and the production only, and the only people who,
Right.
other than that, know about it, which is not usually that many. So it's a cool hidden gem that's for you and the movie, between you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an interesting aspect of movie making, filmmaking.
What's awesome because so much of it, right? Like if you're the person that made that call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're, as something as subtle as choosing two paintings that are going to sit in
Yeah,
the back of a scene on a wall.
yeah,
Nobody in their right mind is going to normally pay attention to that
yeah,
unless you are familiar with those paintings already,
yeah,
right? Um
yeah.
and
The
so it's
stories
just
of those paintings.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just like a small little thing for really yourself and the rest
Did
of
it say
the
who
crew.
did it say who it was who made that choice? Was it the director or?
I didn't see who had made that choice. It was just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like talking about like what the name of the painting was, and then
Mm.
like what it signified. And I was like, man,
That's cool.
it's just
Skyfall
like
is a
cool stuff.
cool movie. I didn't like it as much when it first came out, but the more I've seen it over the years, I've seen it I think maybe a couple times more. I've enjoyed it a little more every single time I watch it. It's a cool movie. I think for whatever reason, when it came out and I watched it in the theater, I didn't like it that much.
Really?
Yeah, it grew on me though. It's a cool movie. And going back to it, the cinematography, George Roger
Deacons?
Deakins,
Yeah.
Roger Deakins. Sorry, yeah, Roger Deakins. He's the cinematographer. I saw kind of like a mashup of interviews, different interviews put together in a YouTube video where there were just like a bunch of different questions that he was answering, and it was a mashup of him just from different interviews, just talking about cinematography. And you said that in the movie All Quiet on the Western Front you just watched, the cinematography really spoke, like it kind of overshined, or not, it shot, like you were talking about.
It definitely outshone. It was like
Yeah. So he was talking about that, how like cinematography should never really, the role of his role and the role of cinematography is never to have someone say, "Oh, that's a great shot," because cinematography should really play into moving the story along forward. If it's done well, you shouldn't like even notice it at the first time of
right. It
watching a
shouldn't like
movie.
pull you out
It shouldn't, because
from
it,
the
yeah,
story.
because then it pulls you out from the story, and you're admiring the beauty and the prettiness of the scene instead of the scene itself, which was
Oh.
very interesting to hear him talk about just cinematography and how he sees cinematography and how he approaches every project differently. And he was talking about how like every project he likes to go and learn more on the set, because it's a new project, it's a different story, and he's catering to the director whatever the director wants. He's there to help and assist the director in making whatever the vision he has in his head come to screen. And then he was talking about, he got into like lighting and stuff, where like people have their own different setups of lighting, or like rules of lighting. And he was talking about how lighting you should never walk into a room and where you're gonna try to shoot a scene, when you're finding locations, and start with, how are we gonna light this? You should first, whatever the movie requires, or whatever is in your head, whatever you're picturing, that should come first before lighting.
For like what it looks like setup wise, before you go, oh, the best lighting's gonna be over here.
So let's not shoot here because the best lighting is over here, or like the space is too small. We can't really like put that much. We can't set up enough around for it to like look a certain way,
Right.
whatever the way might be for someone. So it's just very interesting to hear him talk about cinematography itself, and like his philosophy for filmmaking and his approach is pretty cool.
Well, an approach like that, and it sounds like his philosophy is one that is very humble.
Yeah, and then, yeah.
Like to feel comfortable enough, and like to treat it like a full team effort, instead of let me show you how cool I can make this scene.
Yeah, exactly.
To be like, my job is to make this look as amazing as possible while keeping you in the story.
Yes, the whole point of a movie is to tell a story. Tell a story, whatever your story is, whatever you're trying to tell. Everything else is a device that you should use to help move along the story.
Yeah.
Everything. The actors, the set, the location, the costume, the lighting, the cinematography. Everything should cater to the story, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah.
Everything else is secondary to help progress along the story. And that's how when everybody's on the same page about that, and it all comes together and clicks, you can tell. And that's when you get amazing pieces of art that last, that stand the test of time. Because nobody's there going, let me show you how cool my stuff is.
Yeah. Like how cool I can shoot this, like from this angle, or like I can do like this. Like he was also talking about like crazy camera movements and stuff, and how you should really only move the camera when you think you need to display a certain aspect of the story. Like pushing in when you should be pushing in the camera, when you want to have a wide shot of the whole scene and show the space and the character in the space, and when you should be on a close-up. Like, just there's different times and different needs for different lens choices. And to really to make those choices for a particular scene, I think it requires for sure, it requires a lot of experience, but also I think if you're catering to the story, those choices are easier than if you just are like, oh, what lens should I use for this? Like, what's gonna look cool? Like, I should maybe use this lens because it's gonna look cooler. It's gonna look prettier. Instead, you choose the lenses depending on the scene and the story. I think so.
Like, what kind of effect is this gonna have?
Yeah, because like different lens choices, different camera angles, different ways of moving the camera has a certain it makes the audience feel a certain way when the camera is moving a certain way. You know, there's different emotions that the audience feels when the camera is moving super fast, super shaky, or maybe it's just steady. There's no movement. And when a scene requires where maybe it's like it's a monologue per se, or like whatever the performance of the actor is, depending on the actor's performance, you might want to move the camera accordingly as well. Like if the person, it seems like they're giving a monologue, and you might want to just keep the camera still just on them instead of keep moving it in, or maybe keep moving it sideways. Maybe you don't want to do that, or maybe you want to follow along the character depending on what the character is doing, or maybe you want to just sit and observe from far away what the character is doing, you know?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it really depends on what the story requires. It's not about the shot. It's not about making the shot look pretty or cool
Right.
with movement or like the lens choices. It's really about what the story needs. And I find that very fascinating. And that, like, these are the like things that I love about filmmaking that make me geek out, and I want to learn more and more about, because like it's all to help move along the story, everything around.
Yeah, and it when you're describing this,
I
it
don't know.
stands
Also,
out, right? Like
I just want to say, I don't know if I'm doing a good job of describing it.
no, but I mean, like it makes sense to me.
Okay, as long as it
Like,
makes sense.
yeah.
I just want to put that out there that I don't know much. I'm still learning every day.
Give yourself some credit.
But
yeah.
yeah.
But no, but it I can think of scenes that stand out, like when you're talking about characters giving monologues and
Mhm.
your angle of your shot. I'm thinking of like you know, the a couple that initially come to head is like, or come to my head or come to mind
Mhm.
is like Braveheart.
Mhm.
When he's given that speech and you're kind of panning along the full army and then cutting back to Mel Gibson's face, or Gladiator when you've got
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe being the whole like, are you not entertained?
Mhm.
And like you show like the up close of his face, and then you kind of pan around the whole arena and
Mhm.
you see everything, and then the shot of and then it's showing like the emperor, and you're
Mhm.
like, it when you think about it, of like the kind of emotions that those elicit from that, I'm like, oh yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
Like it may not have been the coolest look, like the coolest looking shot may have been, some like over the shoulder seeing him standing
Mhm.
up looking at the emperor kind of thing, but it's like
Mhm.
you get the full effect of what he's saying when you see the crowd and everybody, and then you see a close up of the emperor, and then you see him, and you're like, oh yeah, I see
Mhm.
like kind of how these different angles and
Just
uh,
different techniques. Well, it's his philosophy was very nice, because it was just like, keep it simple, you know. Because there is a wrong way, there is a right way, but then there's the way that that project requires,
mm,
what that story needs.
right.
And that's really a cool way to think about just filming anything, you know.
Because there is no stencil or staple be
No.
like, oh, when you need to get a medium wide shot
Yeah, you go for like
outside
this.
in this, it
Yeah.
look like this. It's like that's just what you do.
No.
And like,
It's whatever the story requires. You go along with that. And that's cool. I like that idea and that philosophy.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, which this movie I saw,
Oh yeah. That's what we were talking about.
this
Movies.
this movie that I saw last week, or was it earlier this week? I can't tell because it fried my brain. It's this
It was
Indian.
that good, huh?
It was so bad. It was so bad. I mean, no story at all. It's this Indian movie that I went to
Did you
see.
watch Cats? Is that what
No,
you?
I did not watch Cats, which we will one day. We will review Cats on this podcast one day.
Soon. One day soon.
Yeah.
One day soon we will review Cats. If you're just now joining us, this is not a podcast where we talk about adopting animals from animal shelters. We actually talk about movies. And we're talking about the musical Cats, which is supposedly one of the most well-renowned
I know nothing about
films
cats.
of, they're furry animals that have 4 legs and a tail. Sometimes they have stripes.
Nice.
But there's a musical about them where cats sing like they do on the internet. And we will review this movie. Apparently, it's supposed to be like one of the most well-renowned films of the era. So I don't know how we haven't seen it yet, but
I've never heard
we'll
of
get
it.
there. Anyways,
Yeah.
You saw a different movie
I
recently.
saw an Indian movie. It's called Pathaan, Pathaan. And it's one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time, I think. But I also haven't been watching that many movies, so dude, it was so bad. There was no story. It's a movie. It's it's a movie. It's an action movie,
Okay.
right? And the trailer. Let me show you the trailer.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me show you the
Talk
trailer.
me through this while
Yeah.
you're setting up the trailer.
So it's kind of like, I would describe it as like a mix of Fast and Furious
Okay,
meets Mission Impossible meets
which Fast and the like
all of
early
just
Fast and the or
just
like
doesn't matter. Just like
Oh.
genre,
Okay.
like the way the movies. It's, I guess, more newer ones, whatever. Okay.
Oh.
Fast and Furious meets Mission Impossible meets Expendables. Is that the movie with the?
There is a movie called The Expendables, yeah, with Sylvester Stallone.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Oh,
Because
okay.
the actors in these movies who are like playing these action roles, they're in their 50s, close to 60s.
Uh-huh.
They've been dominating what is called Bollywood for like the last 25 years. They've been like the kings of Bollywood.
Okay.
They're like the main actor in every movie for 20 years, and they're still holding on to that, right? And they're doing these crazy stunt scenes, which look okay. Some of them look decent, at least in the trailer. But then the whole movie is just that. And I just couldn't get myself, because there's no story. So now I'm just watching the movie, noticing everything else about the movie, right? I just can't come to the realization that, or like, I can't believe that this man, who I know in real life is like 57 or like something,
Right.
is doing these stunts and like the acting the way he is when like he's 57. You know,
And
like he should be
Does he
doing.
look 57 where you're like,
I mean, maybe not really, but like,
or he's doing things and you're like, okay.
yeah, I don't know. Well, there was that aspect, but there's also there's no story. There's just insane amount of CGI, which is not great CGI, because like, I mean, it's really good for an Indian movie. I'll give it that. For a Bollywood movie, it's really it's good, but it's not amazing. So as a viewer, it kind of takes it, going back to it, it takes you out of the movie, right? It's a movie also with no physics involved.
We like those.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy what the stunts are. I'm gonna show you the trailer, okay? Let's watch the trailer so you can see what this is like.
So is it like one of the ones, because I mean, like when you have movies that have no physics, I mean, like there's movies that go about and have, no, it's like fantasy world, and you're like, okay,
See
I
that? Okay,
understand.
so
there's no physics involved here.
that's what it's supposed to be like. But I'm one of those people who can't. I don't. When I'm going to watch a movie, I need a story. Like,
Right.
You're supposed to apparently go watch Bollywood movies with the sense of, these are just for pure entertainment. Turn your mind off. You're here. This is fantasy. Just sit back and relax. But this movie, since it's an action movie, there's so much going on that you can't just sit back and enjoy the fantasy world.
Right.
There's not any like singing and dancing sequence. There's one song in the whole movie where they have the dance number, But other than that, it's not like it's there's, because there's a love story involved too, because it has to be. Whenever there's an Indian movie, a Bollywood movie, has to have some sort of love story,
That makes sense.
It's a mashup of like every single genre in one, other than like horror. Other than
Horror is the feeling you get.
It was horrible. So yes,
Yeah.
Here, let's watch the trailer.
So it's so when you have stuff like this where it's all, there's like no physics involved and just random shit happens, do they still try to set it up as if there's
Ma'am, we have a red flag.
They're planning a massive attack, और उनका target India.
एक ऐसा अटैक जो हिंदुस्तान ने कभी सोचा भी नहीं होगा। ये नेगोशिएशन नहीं, अल्टीमेटम है। And your time starts now.
तो अब
अब पठान के बनवास का
Do they still set it up like? I mean, it looks like it's based in like the real world, so I would
Yes.
imagine that the physics of the real world is what's taking place.
No, it's not at all.
I see what you're saying, like casually jumping out of a two-story window,
Just look at that. He's flying a helicopter inside a little
flying a helicopter inside of a
compound.
warehouse compound, just casually dropping M60s from the bottom of the helicopter.
So are you in or are you out?
There's your love interest. Okay, I see.
That scene right here was insane. All of this is insane.
Did they rappel down from planes?
And I will tell you what that scene was once this trailer is done.
Yeah, that doesn't sound realistic. I see. Okay. Well, this is just a lot. I gotta say, this puts Michael Bay to shame.
Oh, I thought
Michael
of
Bay,
I
step
I,
up your
I thought
game.
of Michael Bay during this movie because I'll tell you because of what.
You need more explosions, Michael.
Oh my, dude.
पूछता है वो देश के लिए क्या कर सकता है. जय हिंद.
The trailer looks intense. It looks like a oh, they have
Right?
they have the jetpack wings from the Avengers that Anthony Mackie Falcon. They have Falcon's jetpack wings.
This movie
Whoa.
had like every Hollywood movie, blockbuster movie you can think of in it. At some point. So this scene right here where they're where was that balloon scene?
That was
No,
a
this-
balloon?
So I'll tell you the one they're flying with this right here.
Yeah, they're like being held underneath drones.
So you see her backpack, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so he has one too, right?
Yeah.
And there's a string going up to the from the backpack.
Yeah.
And what they're connected to is one engine, two propeller airplane.
A one engine.
Like a regular, like not a Sea-Doo, but like
Like
these. So
oh my god.
so you see these planes right here, right?
Yeah.
So in this scene, they have just robbed. Oh, also there was a pandemic aspect in the movie too. They brought up COVID-19, so that was
course, okay.
amazing. You know,
Yeah.
because they shot it in the pandemic, so they had to put that in this whatever story they had.
Put that in the
There was no
story.
story, but whatever. So in this scene, they've just stolen the I think this like I guess it's the virus that was like locked up.
They stole COVID-19.
Not COVID, because in the movie, this virus is more deadlier than COVID-19.
As the
You know, it's a mutation of smallpox that is way deadlier than COVID-19. Smallpox and COVID-19, like it takes like and I think in the movie they said that it spreads within like the effects of it you see within 10 minutes instead of COVID-19 how it's over a period of a week, you know?
So it's poison.
It's poison essentially.
Okay, it's not
it causes like little pores like smallpox or little bumps like smallpox, and then you just essentially your body starts peeling or whatever. Regardless, you know.
Okay.
So they've just stolen that from the bad guys or whatever, or got it before the bad guys were supposed to go get it from this vault. They're at the rooftop of that building, right? And apparently they have to get that to they have to get that a little potion or whatever,
Like
sample. They have to get that
yeah.
vial across the city, you know, and they can't within 10 minutes or the alarms are going to go off or something. So they need to get there fast. So this is what they come up with. They get to the roof. They have these backpacks, right? They open their backpacks. They attach a big ass balloon with a long rope that connects onto their little harness thing. They attach it. The balloon starts lifting them up right?
Right.
They're going up in air
Right.
because it's like a hydrogen balloon. They're like going up in air, right? These two planes come right over the building where they're getting lifted up with the balloon, and the nose of the planes
Catches them.
catches the balloon, bursts the balloon, and then the rope or the wire gets hooked onto the nose of the plane, and that's how they're flying through air.
That seems really.
Logical and doable, right?
It seems really, really hard to do. It sounds like something that you would need lots of practice, and is a
Or
very
CGI, a lot of CGI and VFX. Just fill the movie with VFX because why not?
That's yeah.
You don't need a story when it looks cool,
Oh yeah. Well, wait.
but not even real though.
That's the whole point of movies, though. I thought you just make it look. You make it look as cool as possible.
I guess okay. Here's
and then you don't need anything.
Here's
else.
the thing. I don't want to hate on it too much because sure, there is some aspect to movie making and like going to the movies where you do want to see cool stuff happen. You know, like Marvel is not anything better where like
Marvel's making a lot of movies,
but the
and
thing
a lot of money making
but
stuff.
the
that
thing
just looks
is, at least Marvel, the CGI and the VFX stuff is so good. I guess it comes down to the production. They have more money, so it looks way more realistic. Like even though the physics in maybe all Marvel movies doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean,
it
makes
looks
sense, It makes sense
realistic.
for the world that they're superheroes.
Exactly.
So it's like it makes sense for that world.
It makes sense for that world, and also it looks the way the VFX works. It
Right.
looks realistic. Like
Right.
if it would to happen in our world in reality, it might look like that because visually,
Right.
it sets in.
Be a little bit more gory, but
No, I'm not talking about I'm talking about in terms of like the realism of the special effects.
Right.
You know, or the way the things look, you
Yeah.
know, like in this movie, a lot of times, like you could clearly tell that this is not like happening. They didn't actually shoot this, you know,
Yeah,
there's a green screen involved or whatever. Like those things where they really take you out of the movie once you realize that you can tell that this was green screen or you can tell that this was CGI.
Right.
And
Like when you're hanging from a wire
Yeah.
supposedly in the sky,
or
moving
like
it,
you're falling down skydiving and shooting a gun that's breaking the top of the building, you know.
right. Like that's just not going to happen.
I mean, it might not happen, but it doesn't even look real. Like,
Right,
let's say if we're in this universe where it can happen, at least visually, it doesn't look that real. It
Right.
doesn't look realistic. But yeah, I don't know. This was
Wait, that dude's 57?
That dude's 50, I think. That dude, his name is John Abraham. He is 50. Yeah, I mean, even the
Dude,
other.
I hope I look like that at 50.
I mean, even the other dude, the main dude, he had a good body too, and he's 57. You know, he's like jacked in the movie, so it's like good for them. But like, I feel like my mom said this. Okay, after the movie, she was like, I feel like all Indian actors have given up on acting now, and they just work on their bodies.
Let me be as ripped as possible.
Yeah, she was like, everyone was ripped in the movie. Shahrukh was ripped in the movie. John was ripped in the movie. Deepika Padukone, who's the female character, female agent, she was ripped in the movie. And she's like, even the older lady, this lady, she's like 65. Even she looks in good shape. She's like, they've all given up on acting. And
I don't need to act anymore. I need to be as ripped as possible.
exactly. And that's what I mean. Michael Bay, you said Michael Bay, right? They need more explosions, or Michael Bay needs more explosions after
Yeah.
this movie. Dude, so in the movie, a lot of the serious, intense moments where like the virus is getting out of hand, or like there's some catastrophe that's happening, like whatever. The camera was just, they had these edits where if like the camera just in the Michael Bay 360 fashion, you know, just like just crazy
Right,
pans,
yeah.
just the crazy pans, but they were not done as well as Michael Bay's pans, the 360 pan he does, you know? So it was just giving me a headache. It was actually giving me a headache. And you could tell that there was just like, since the intense music is playing and this is supposed to be an intense scene, that's the only reason that the cinematographer used that method
Right.
just because that's what you do in intense movies, because that's what Michael Bay does.
Right,
I
right.
think that's what his logic was, because that's what I felt watching the movie. It's like there's no need for like these crazy 360s every single time, because they didn't happen just at once. Every single time it was an intense scene, like of them being in the office in the control room, like talking to the agent or whatever. It would go like that. And it just
Be like, oh shit, oh fuck,
exactly.
intense scene.
And
Hit the button.
exactly. And there's like one pan from this side, then edit, cut, one pan from this side, back to like the other side, the back to other. Oh my god, dude! This movie gave me such a headache that I woke up the next day and I felt like I was hungover, even though I wasn't hung. I didn't drink the night before, dude. Don't watch this movie.
Lasting effects. This sounds like a fantastic movie.
Definitely don't go watch this movie in theaters, because it is like in theaters. I watched it at the AMC nearby, but don't spend your money on this movie, dude. This movie is just, I had high expectations, I guess, because the trailer looks decent.
It looks like a. I mean, when you were describing it, I'm like, yes, it does look like a combination of the new. It's like the new Fast and the Furious movies, the Mission Impossible, mixed with a little bit of,
A little bit of like I say
James Bond.
yeah, James Bond is too.
Yeah.
Yeah, James Bond. I just
Like
say
you cover everything. Like they're in the desert. There's a mountain covered in snow. There's the ocean.
yeah,
there's-
that snow scene reminded me
Middle
of Skyfall.
Yeah, yeah.
Their chase when they're in the mountains. Also, I think there's like them on ice. I think Fast and Furious
Fast and the Furious has the submarine and the tank on ice or something.
yeah,
in
something
there.
there. I think I haven't seen the most recent one, but I think the last one that came out had a scene where Dwayne the Rock Johnson's character and who's
Jason Statham.
I think he's chasing Jason Statham or whatever. He gets out of the car and he's in like a big tank Hummer or whatever, and he gets out of the car and his feet are dragging on ice while he's holding onto the door, and like the passengers controlling the wheel.
Right.
They have like a similar scene where like their feet are dragging on the ice while he jumps off the bike and like kind of riding along. And just like
It's just really impressive stunts is what that is.
yeah, I don't know, dude. It's just
No, that sounds like too much.
like there's a scene here where the bridge blows up and then the main characters are like jumping off, flying back up here, like barely making it because the train's falling down. It's just like I don't like movies like that.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the thing. I feel like I need to see in a movie some more realistic explosions. If that makes sense. Like,
no, it does.
Like I want to
Like
sit
Christopher
down
Nolan.
Yes, I want to sit down and go to a movie when I see explosions and not like, okay, some of the ones that frustrate me the most is like car crash explosions. I'm like, okay, the number of car crashes that I have like seen or heard about or whatever, and the number of times I've seen cars like
Explode.
flip over and then suddenly explode and burst into flames. I'm like, people think there's a lot more fire and explosions than there is in real life.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to see some, like, if you're gonna blow up a bridge, the majority of the time it's probably just gonna be like shit falling and crumbling. Like there's gonna be the loud explosion and some, a quick spark and some dirt, but it's not gonna be, hellfire pits of flame bursting out all over the place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you guys need to pump the brakes.
And I guess some of it's just like, I guess us being a little too
Snobby.
snobby, critiquing it a little too much maybe. But I don't know. For me, things like these explosions or like over the top CGI just takes you out of the film. And I guess if you don't have a story, sure, go for all the effects you want.
Yeah, if you're not gonna have a story,
Yeah.
you might as well just make it look as cool as possible.
Exactly.
Which is how I feel about the new Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
Since we've talked about
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
Like I
Did you say they're releasing the 10th one in
I did,
this May?
I did see that.
I was like, I saw that and I was like, I didn't even see the last one. And apparently the last one they went in space.
I know. I was like, I stopped when I swear I think in the last one somebody stopped a train or something like that. I was like, I
yeah.
jumped off when I stopped being I stopped being a fan. I think after like Tokyo Drift, but I was really like threw in the towel, and I like it turned from like I don't want to see these to like you need to stop making these movies.
Yeah.
When when they had the one where Dwayne the Rock Johnson was holding a car together, like
Oh no, there's a scene I haven't seen this, but I saw a clip of this where I think I know what you're talking about. There's a scene where Dwayne the Rock Johnson is holding on to a helicopter.
yes,
And he's holding on to a car. And then there's a moment where he pulls in the helicopter with this massive chain.
Yeah,
that
the
he's holding,
helicopter's trying to go
and
away.
he catches it.
Yeah, and it, like hooks it together, and I'm like,
Yes.
all right, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you just did what Captain America did. Like, you just did what Spider-Man's
Yeah,
done.
and you're supposed to be a regular, not regular, but you're
I'm
supposed
like, yeah,
to be like
you're an above average human, but even an above average human isn't
a superhero.
pulling a helicopter in midair back down to earth.
Dude, I stopped caring about the Fast and Furious movies after the Fast and Furious 6. I liked the Fast and Furious movies up till Fast and Furious 5. 5 was when they steal that big vault.
I'm sorry.
They're like in Rio, they're in Brazil, they're in Rio de Janeiro.
Okay.
It has like in the beginning it has the scene where they're like stealing cars from a train or whatever.
I think I do remember that one.
They're
Stealing cars.
They're
from the
stealing
train.
cars from the train, then they go to Brazil and they're like looking for the head honcho of Brazil and taking his whole operation down. I forget what was the reason
Are they trying to
behind
steal
it.
his Porsche? Is that?
Yes, those cars were his cars.
Yeah.
They steal those cars and then
They're all red.
not
like-
all of them are red,
Okay.
but they're
Maybe
in a
thinking
moving
of it.
train. And then at the end, they are stealing his money and it's in like a big ass vault. And they take 2 challengers that are like souped up and they
And rip the vault out.
yes
Yeah.
they ripped the vault. They connected with like wires to the challengers and they ripped the vault out. And that
So they did the 21st century version of what Captain Jack Sparrow did in Pirates of the Caribbean,
yeah,
where he hooks up the safe to
Yeah.
the horses and they rip it out the back of the.
exactly.
Yeah.
And up till then, it was like, okay, whatever. I think that was also the first movie that The Rock was in the Fast and Furious franchise. So I mean, it was a good story, decent story. After that, it all went to shit. Up till 5, I was like, okay, it's like fiction, fantasy. I'll give it. After that, everything went to
Tokyo
shit.
Drift is still my favorite.
And they've
Fast
still
and the Furious
made
movie.
5 more after that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Tokyo Drift was a great movie.
That one was good. I mean, I don't know if it was just because of the
When
fact
you
that it
saw
was
it.
still racing, mainly. Like, you know, that's
Mhm.
how this started. If anyone remembers how Fast and the Furious started,
It was a racing
it
movie.
was street racing. It was street racing, not FBI, CIA,
Or in the space, going to
or
space.
Avengers, or space, or tanks, or submarines. It was street racing.
Yep.
That's
quarter
why.
mile.
Yeah,
Quarter mile.
yeah.
Drag
It was
racing, quarter
drag
mile.
racing, quarter mile, souped up cars.
But it was also
They have
you
come
can
a long
you can
way.
never forget at the bottom of it the what's it about?
About family.
It's about family, bro.
It's about family.
It's about family.
Oh God.
Oh my god. But yeah, this movie kind of is a combination of all of those movies, and I give it honestly a 1 out of 10 if I had to give it a rating. I'll give it a
Wow.
1 just because of the effort they put in.
They put in a lot of effort to
Because
make it look really cool.
even to make it really cool, you have to put in a lot of effort. So I'll give the production team props.
All right,
You know,
that's fair.
but other than that, I also saw recently. I saw this TV show on Netflix called Mo. It's a show about this stand-up comic Mo Amer. He made the show. It's kind of loosely based on his life. He's a Palestinian refugee. So in Texas, I think when he seeked asylum, he was in Houston, I want to say, or Dallas, I forget, but like in Texas.
One of the safest places to be as a refugee.
So he made the show around basically his life as a Palestinian refugee in Texas. So it's placed in Texas. So that's an interesting whole angle.
That alone sounds like a very
right
precarious situation.
It's funny, and it's funny too because he's a stand-up. So it's a funny show. It's his like in the show. It's him, his mom, and his older brother, and then I think his sister, his father's passed away, but that's kind of like the setting. And then it's just him figuring out how to get citizenship and like seeing his other refugee friends getting citizenship before him and all the stuff that goes around it.
Right.
Like, so it's an interesting story because it's different, you know, and it's funny. He makes it funny. So
that sounds pretty cool. It sounds
Yeah.
similar to. I haven't seen it, but it sounds almost like Atlanta.
Yeah, maybe
Just because it's like similar to someone's actual life story rather than it just being like here's a funny stand-up comedian that's on a show.
Yeah, it's not a sitcom, you know?
Right,
Like even
right.
though it's his show, it's loosely based on his life. He's the comic in it. I mean, there's other comics in it as well. I think he probably casted. But it's not like a typical sitcom.
Right,
You know?
right.
When you think of stand-up comics having their own shows, you usually think of like sitcoms, like everyone loves Raymond or Seinfeld or whatever.
Right.
So it's not like that. It's not just purely a sitcom, but it has comedy in it. But it's also drama. So it's interesting.
Sounds pretty good. I definitely remember adding it to my
So that's
my long
that's
Netflix
a rec
list.
That's a rec. If you haven't seen that, definitely go watch it. It's 8 episodes. It's 30 minutes each, so it's a quick watch. You can just binge it if you want it, like me, because that's what I did. I just
You just casually dumped
I
4 hours.
I mean, yeah, it was not great, but I just binged it, and now I want more. And I think season 2 comes out this summer, so I'm excited for that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. Speaking of recommendations, as we've been talking, I've been trying to like rack my brain of have I watched movies recently outside of All Quiet on the Western Front. And I did watch another one, and you're gonna have to stay with me here on this because it's a weird one. But the movie is called The Lobster, and it is a
Okay.
It's I don't think I could accurately describe
Try.
what it is. It is. It's got Colin Farrell in it.
Okay.
It's got John C. Reilly.
Okay.
It has actually, speaking of Skyfall, it has the guy that plays Q. I don't remember his name, but it has that guy. It has what is the main girl's name? Rachel Weisz, I think is her name. But it is a movie of the gist of the movie is Colin Farrell goes to this hotel getaway and kind of like admits himself into this place, and the place itself basically gives you like a week or something like that.
Looks like a retreat.
It's like a retreat thing. Like they give you a week to find the love of your life that you share something in common with, like the
Uh,
two of you share something in common, and you get married, and then like have 2 weeks or whatever to like,
At this retreat?
yeah,
Oh,
at this
wow.
retreat, you have that amount of time to like basically like put yourself together, find a mate,
Mm-hmm.
pair off, and make sure that everything's good, and then you get released back into society.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
it's like
As a couple?
yeah, as a couple, it's like a Wes Anderson style kind of film,
Mm-hmm.
where it's weird. And the catch is if after a week you don't have a mate, you get turned into an animal of your choice, and 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 where the title comes from is Colin Farrell's animal of choice
As a lobster?
is a lobster. If he doesn't find a mate, he wants to get turned into a lobster.
Mm.
And it is like, it's like a love story with dark humor and some like, it's like slight thriller, more just kind of like eerie brutality, kind of some like grotesque.
Well, the IMDb says it's in a dystopian near future, according to the laws of the city. Single people are taken to the hotel where they're obliged to find a romantic partner in 45 days, or they're transformed into beasts and sent off into the woods.
Oh yeah, okay. So I guess it's 45 days. I must have. I guess I
The
misinterpreted the amount of time.
Okay.
But yeah, you're given a certain amount of time. You pick an animal of your choice when you get admitted, and then at the end, you know, if you don't have a mate, you
So
get
does-
turned into that animal and get
Does he
sent into the woods.
turn into a lobster?
You're gonna have to watch and find out. I would
I don't-
actually highly recommend that people check this out. It's pretty funny to watch.
Okay.
It was,
Okay.
and it's just as weird as you would expect. So
Okay.
it's definitely one to strap in for.
The trailer kind of looks weird-esque without actually watching
Yeah.
it. Just it was on mute, but I saw it while you were explaining the movie.
Yeah, it's a looker for sure. It's definitely an interesting piece to watch. It does give me strong. It's like a more tame version of
Featured review.
the Grand Budapest Hotel
Oh.
kind of feel,
I see.
where
Okay.
it's got that. It's not quite like the French Dispatch level of Wes Anderson, where you're like, Jesus Christ, what is going on?
Yeah.
But it's got enough to where you're watching, you're like, man, this is weird,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm kind of into it. It was good. It was good. I would recommend people check that out. I have seen that recently,
Okay.
and then I've been keeping up with The Last of Us, which
Yeah. I still haven't seen it all.
you haven't watched any of it.
No.
You went and watched that terrible movie that you did not like, and you haven't watched something that we've been talking about on the podcast.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
My goodness.
It's just I want to see how much hype there still is with the show before I start watching it.
How much hype there still is. It's still good.
Okay. I know. I've been
3 episodes in, and
I need to get HBO. That's honestly.
Oh, is that? Do you not have HBO?
No, and I
Oh.
I almost got it, but then I got busy in work. Like I had the tab open,
Right.
you know, and then I was gonna do it, but then I got distracted.
And then never came back
Never
around
came back
to
around.
do it.
I will do it. I will do it today. You know what? Let's do it right now.
Perfect. Yeah, do it right now.
Let's do it right now.
And
Let's do it on the pod.
I'll quickly go over like the newest episode. Without, again, it's at this point in the podcast where if you have not seen episode 3 of The Last of Us on HBO Max, we advise you now to pause this podcast and go watch it and then return. And we're back. Okay. So I would suggest episode 3. If you have seen it and are caught up, and if you're familiar with the games, they do a little bit of things where they differ from some content of the game. But part of why I'm okay with it
Mm-hmm.
and why I still think it's really good is the directors and writers have like sat down and come to the agreement of when they were writing things and coming up with stuff for the show. They're like, okay, as we're progressing through the story and we're coming up with these things, if our ideas are the same or worse than the content and story of the game, we don't deviate and we stick to the game storyline and content. If what we come up with, we all agree is better, then that's when we deviate. And we don't deviate drastically. So it's minor changes to things of things that they include or deviations from like, you know, somebody's story and how things play out. A lot of the times what they've done so far where they have deviated, it's mainly just been pieces where it was pieces of history that were either like alluded to or were mentioned but never explained in detail. And so they're kind of like, here's what we'll show. And it's like, we kind of like show this in more detail. Yeah. Provide some more information, or like, you know, they change a couple things. The only thing that some people have had issues with is in episode 3, there's a scene where they're like in Boston and go like 10 miles west of Boston, basically. And it suddenly looks like you're in the middle of the plains in, you know, like the Midwest or whatever. Like it looks very no longer city anywhere. And so some people, you know, on the internet have been like, well, you go 10 miles outside of Boston, it does not look like that. Yeah. Not even, you know, especially not being just a few years removed from a major pandemic. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. Like it would not suddenly look like you're in the middle of the woods. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I get that. But I was like, you know what? That's something trivial enough to get past. Where the rest of it, I am still very much a big fan of the show. Okay.
I gotta check it out. I'm done. I signed up for HBO finally.
You are?
I did it. Yep.
Excellent.
So now I will watch it, or I might just watch the reruns of Friends because I know HBO has Friends as well. I love Friends.
Friends is a good show. I need to watch White Lotus. I've heard that's really
good. Another one. That's another show that I've been meaning to watch. White Lotus. I've heard.
We should do that. We should watch.
Let's do that.
We should get on that too.
I'm actually down for that. Yeah.
And movies. Movies is also what we have. You watched The Menu?
No, it's here, right?
Yeah.
You saw it in theater. Yeah. I also honestly want to watch Elvis.
I haven't seen that either. I've heard that's supposed to be fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have seen The Menu. I did see that in theaters.
And you said you liked it?
I was a huge fan.
Your dad wasn't.
No, he was.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay.
We saw it on a whim. We went to, actually, it was when Avatar first came out, we went to go see Avatar, and they were sold out. And so we were like, well, this is an option. And I was like, I like Ralph Fiennes. That's, you know, he's here.
Damn.
So he's got a movie. Anya Taylor-Joy's in it. Nicholas Hoult, who plays, I don't know. The only thing that pops into my head immediately is he plays Beast in the new X-Men movies.
I might watch. HBO has some good selections.
HBO is doing a fantastic job with their selection of stuff.
This is money well spent.
No, it is. They have so many good things. They also have. We talked about it before, but they have all of the Dark Knight series.
They do.
Christopher Nolan.
They even have the new Batman. They have the.
They also have the new Batman.
What's his name?
The Batman.
No, yeah, but Mark something? No, not Mark. What's the director?
Twilight Boy.
No. I'm talking about the director.
Oh,
it's his name is Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. Yes, the Matt Reeves Batman. We talked about it, and it's almost like we should remember.
Yeah, I'm not good with names. So it's House of Dragon. I still haven't seen that too. Yeah,
you haven't seen the House of Dragon either,
dude. I know. I've been slacking.
That's right. There's so much content to go through that it's a lot.
Yeah, but I think we're at an hour.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's all do for today's episode. People,
that'll do, donkey. That'll do.
What's that from?
It was supposed to be Shrek.
Donkey.
Donkey.
I almost thought you were saying thank you in German.
No. Whoa.
I thought you were saying donkey.
Dankeschön.
Yeah.
Donkey.
Well, that's it, guys. This is Storytime. In the meantime, we'll be back next to next Tuesday.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. But for this week, recommend watching Mo for sure. The Lobster
The Lobster.
is Chase's wreck,
That's my recommendation for the week.
and mine is
Cat. It's all animals from here on out. I'm gonna watch Cats. I recommend The Lobster. And a side.
Along those lines, watch Lion as well. That's a great movie.
Yeah. Also, if you have the time, Silence of the Lambs. Another great animal movie.
Okay. Peace.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Love you very much. Enjoy the rest of your week.